Hello everyone, welcome to a conversion tutorial by Static Grass Creations. My name is Jason, and today I will be showing you how I built a human-converted Scourgerunner Chariot for my Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, Cities of Sigmar army, and also learned some parts of a wagon. The idea came from the concept that my Cities of Sigmar army will only have human soldiers in it. I wanted another mobile unit to supplement my Pistoliers and Outriders, and I wanted to try some chariots. I have lots of old Empire bits, so I wanted to make something that still conveys the goofiness of human technology in this universe. The conversion uses a variety of bits, types and sizes of polystyrene sheets or rods, chain, an MDF base with cobblestone design of my own, and a miniature wagon model from WizKids. After taking it out of the container, I start dismantling and cleaning the cart until it's only the wheels and the bed. Don't forget to save the pieces that are cut off, I will be using them later. One of the sides of the bed is separated into their individual planks, and this is how I have separated the pieces. Next, I'm remaking the sides of the chariot. I used a 1.5mm thick polystyrene sheet. The front angled pieces are 1 1/4 inch wide, with one side 3/4 inches high and the other side 1 inch high. I make 2 of these. With the thickness of the sheet, I need to score it multiple times before I can take out the pieces. The sides of the chariot are 1 1/8 inch wide and 3/4 inch high. Again, 2 of these are cut out. And I end up with 2 of each piece. I clean up the pieces and cut the edge of the higher side of the front pieces so they can be glued together at an angle. After determining the front of the cart, I glued the angled pieces together. The shorter ends of the pieces are cut on an angle as well. Short planks are glued to the bottom of the front pieces. One of the longer planks are used to connect protruding bits past the wheels. Once the planks are in place, I glue the side pieces of the chariot. One of the beams from the front of the original wagon are used to make a falling tongue by gluing it under the bed. The corners of the polystyrene are cut down so they are flush with the joining pieces. Next, I cut down strips of 0.75mm by 1.5mm polystyrene to use as trim around the edges of the panels. The front uses 3 strips. I make sure the strips are flush with each other by cleaning their edges. 3mm tube is cut to a height just above the top point of the front of the chariot. This will hold the monopod for the harpoon. I glue it in the corner of the front. Using more thin strips, I cut small pieces and attach them to the side corners. These will be holding weapons. Next, I am making an ammo rack for the harpoon. I roughly measure the thickness of the metal spear that I will be using as harpoon ammo, and cut 2 thin strips. The third piece is smaller to split the rack. I cut a longer piece to close off the rack. The metal spears are cut down to be about the length of an Empire handgun. I have 3 of them in the rack. A shield from an Empire Knightly Order set is glued to the front of the chariot. Small pieces are cut from a thin strip of styrene and glued to the center of the side panels. These will be used to attach embellishments. I use a knife to score all over the styrene panels of the chariot. I score deep and lightly, gouging occasionally, and I score and gouge the trim. I want to add texture to make the model more interesting to look at and paint. I cut very tiny pieces from a 1mm rod to use as bolts along the trim. Using the same metal spears as I used for the harpoon, I don't cut them down as short so they can be used as hook spears, though I do cut off the spear tips, which are replaced by halberd heads. To make the monopod, I use a stand for the Hochland long rifle from an Empire handgunner's set, cutting off the strung up bullets so the whole rod can fit into the tube at the front of the chariot. Lance tips are glued to the boxing of the wheel. Next, I am building the horses. 2 horses are used. These are from the Empire Knightly Order's kit. To connect the horses, I made a wide yoke using a strip of 1.5mm by 6mm styrene cut into 3 pieces. One piece is 1 inch wide and 2 pieces are 7/8 inch wide. I bend the smaller pieces by hand and pliers, careful not to break them. I glue them on an angle on the larger piece and score and gouge it like the panels. I then glue the horses to the bent part of the yoke. The horses are then glued to the base. I glue a short plank making a cross on the falling tongue. I use chains from the Empire flagellant flails and attach the yoke to the falling tongue with them. I cut 2 pieces of 1mm rod and glue them off-center of the flat part of the yoke. These need to be long enough to keep chain in place. I flatten out the bottom of Knightly Order laurel bits and glue them to the bent part of the yoke. I use the thicker chain to attach the yoke to the trim of the chariot. The chain links on these do need to be separated and closed again so I can change the length of the chain. I do this for both of the rods on the yoke. To make the harpoon launcher, I cut the barrel off of the blunderbuss in an Empire Outriders kit. An Empire handgun barrel is cut down to be flush with the forestock and glued together. The grip and stock are cut off, cleaned, and a plank piece is glued in its place. I make 2 corsairs to be the riders. I leave the heads off to replace with human heads. The left and right arms for repeater hand crossbows ammo cases are cut off, and the remaining stock is glued to the harpoon launcher. Unfortunately, the arms are not made to look like they're operating a weapon like the harpoon gun. I glue the arms to the body at a high angle to meet with the monopod. Corsairs are posed with bent legs, so it's difficult to make sure you have enough space in the chariot. A crossbow is glued to the other corsair. One of the ammo cases from a repeater hand crossbow is attached to the top of the crossbow, making it look like some human interpretation of a repeater crossbow. A hook piece from the Empire Great Cannon kit is glued to one side of the front of the chariot. The smaller chain is going to be used as the reins. Like the thick chain, I can measure out the length that I want and separate the links as needed to make 4 lengths of chain. In this case, the ring at the end is used to bring all the chains together. I attach the end of the linked chains to the hook on the chariot. The loose ends are fed through the laurels on the yoke, and finally attached to each side of the bit for each horse. To keep the chain in place, I add drops of glue on the links. I finish the thick chains by adding the spike ball ends of a flail to the chariot ends of the chains. Lastly, I add Greenstuff to the corsair arms to fill any gaps. The corsair holding the harpoon gun needs more of the green stuff. And that concludes the tutorial on a human Scourgerunner Chariot. This is one of a 3-model squad that I'll be fielding in my Cities of Sigmar army. I really enjoyed putting this together and will be looking to find other units to make human versions of. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial by Static Grass Creations. Stay tuned for more videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe.